This is another video in the First Read series. In that series, I read a poem by a poet I don't know or know very little about, and just read it for the sheer joy of it. Don't read it to teach it or anything like that. Just read. This is why I got into poetry in the first place, but I just do that. Sometimes I might be completely wrong at the first reading, or I might just be off, or, who knows. I think that's why I got into it in the first place. So this one is from the journal Afternoon Visitor. I pick these at random. I really do just kind of randomly click on this one. I don't know this poet, Jack Jung. There's a little bit about him at the bottom here. I don't know anything about him really. And this one is called Two Names. I always look at the form when I first look at something before I really kind of go through it. So I look at this one, and there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 stanzas. The first two have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And the second and third one have different length stanzas. Reeds, past, fingers, city wings. I don't see, rhymes jumping out at me. A Jamjari fluttered, loafing on reeds. There's 9. Winds were warm. I caught it with my fingers. 10. So, it looks like a fairly standard free verse kind of poem where the poet creates what they want you to see through the form. So I'm not going to focus too much on the specifics of the form here unless they jump out as I read them. This one's called Two Names. I'm not sure why the title is Two Names. Hopefully I will figure that out as I read, but let's go. The Jamjari fluttered, loafing on reeds. So Jamjari, as I understand it, and I could be off here, is a dragonfly. So Jamjari fluttered, loafing on reeds. All right, that's what they kind of do. Winds were warm, like the W's here. Winds were warm. I caught it with my fingers and held on to its wings as shadows passed. There's a nice W sound coming here as well. As shadows pass. So it looks like a memory here for holding on to a dragonfly. Specifically a Jamjari, which I'm not sure the difference between a dragonfly here, or if this is like speaking about being in Korea and seeing this. I'm not sure. I have not seen it again since being in the city, brushing on my lips. A dragonfly spread its wings. So it's actually just called a dragonfly here. So maybe this is the play on two names, dragonfly and Jamjari. Being in the city somehow is taking away the actual name, or shifting the name here. We're not even seeing it, it's a memory. After washing our little feet in a stream, so it's back into, it seems like countryside now. I'm not sure of that. You could have a stream in a city, but you wouldn't typically dip your feet in it. You and I caught cicadas we kept in a fishnet. Their sound was all we heard. So I don't know who the you and I are, but it looks like we're back in memory again. So the first stanza was a memory, and then into the city. Now we're back into memory again. Their sound was all we heard. Half-naked, sunburnt, covering in tree shade. The ones we captured, we pressed till they grew silent. It's been years. You had forgotten when I asked. So this is memory versus the present. That happened in the first stanza as well, these two different things. It was memory one person remembers really well, the other person doesn't even remember at all. This could be like the memory for the name, the Korean name of something, versus the, standard English name for it. I'm not sure if that's really what that is there. But it's this kind of double play on it here. I think we all have things like that we remember really well as a child that the person we shared it with doesn't remember. Third stanza, and I heard a coin circling in a beggar's can. Buildings were modern, high, and wet. Also, we're in the city at this point. I was somewhere more ghostly before we met. Well, it's an odd line. Somewhere before we met. Did the coin drown in the can, or hit the bottom before it did? Or was it taken out with a thumb and an index finger to be shown it was a ring? This is an odd little play here. The first two stanzas have been in the countryside, then into the city, or in the memory and into the present. This one I'm not sure. It almost feels like we just shifted into a dream with this coin circling in a beggar's can, in this city space. But there's something more ghostly where we met, and this coin dropping might be shown as a ring. There's that shift in what it is versus what it's become, or what it could become, almost like magic in this one. So this beginning and the shift to the end. I'm not sure what to do with this stanza, honestly. I chewed habaragi seeds till I needed cool water to clear out my mouth. Habaragi, I believe, is sunflower. This is one of the problems with doing first reads. You don't always, you're just going through it and seeing what's there and experience it, and then you kind of go back and look it up. So hopefully I'm not completely off with this. Till I needed cool water to clear out my mouth. Its yellow petals, too big and ridiculous to seem real. Yeah, it feels like sunflowers mentioned at the next line. Yeah, so the sunflower seeds, in your mouth, and that's weirdness that like the beginning is definitely a double play here. The seeds and then the petals, they seem ridiculous, and the sunflower does seem like huge, right? Go in lands I didn't know. I traveled. And once I lifted my eyes in a field of sunflowers. It's kind of interesting, this kind of interplay at the end between what's real and what seems too real, too ridiculous to be real, like this field of sunflowers. But it's in somewhere else. It's in some other land that this person doesn't know. So we get this translation of images that don't even seem real, which is kind of that third stanza plays with that idea of the real and not real, and this kind of magical that happens sometimes when you travel to a place, or when you're changing languages between things. So that's just kind of a fun play. I might completely reread this poem differently if I go back and like research these words a little bit more to add to my somewhat limited perspective here. But I enjoy this kind of basic reading, so I think I would definitely be interested in reading more of these. I think it could be interesting as like a little part of a book on a similar topic. I think that would be fun to read and explore. Anyway, Jack Jung, definitely worth a visit to Afternoon Visitor to see this.